Hello, I have a question for you. What do you want to manifest? What do you dream about? And what do you want to create within your life? Well, maybe it's a raise, maybe it's a career that you love, maybe it's a dream vacation, a loving relationship, a soulmate, better health and wellness, more confidence. Well, I'm Beth Miller and I am a marriage coach and I help women save marriages, restore marriages, rescue their marriage in 12 weeks. And I have a great guest on today, Elle, Russ, and I'm just going to let her in here. And she's a phenomenal guest. She knows all things manifestation. She's a best-selling author of 2 books, one Confident as F. She's the author of Paleo Thyroid Solution. She's a TV film writer. She's a podcaster, and she's a master coach. And Elle, I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
So great to be here. How are you?
I'm great. So I have a ton of questions and topics I want to dive in with you. And I want to say anyone who's watching, and I'll reiterate this again in a few minutes, feel free to pop any questions you have for Elle or myself in the comment section, and we'd be glad to get to those. Sound good, Elle?
Sounds great.
Awesome. So I just briefly introduced you. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Like you are an expert. You know what you're talking about when it comes to manifestation and paleo and thyroid and so many other things.
I just love having this conversation because at least with confidence and self-esteem, you need it for every single area of your life, including choosing the right partner, including getting the relationship you want out of the current marriage or relationship that you're in. If you don't have self-esteem and confidence, you're, number one, not going to be able to identify where you need to draw boundaries, and you're not going to be able to have the self-esteem to fucking speak up about it. I cannot tell you how many people I know that are very confident in all areas of their life, and then it comes to relationships and forget about it. It falls apart for a variety of reasons. I know even marriage coaches struggling in their marriage. Right? I mean, no one's immune to this, but what I do see often is that, and this is just really the case. Most of the time, anyone listening or people out there think that they see an injustice. I don't care if it's on TV and film, you're watching a couple and you're like, oh, I didn't like the way he spoke to her, or whatever your feeling is about an injustice occurring, yet you don't honor it when it comes to you. Right? How many times are you saying to a friend, oh, you should never let someone talk to you that, oh, you should be treated that way. And then are you letting yourself be treated that way? We have so much hypocrisy. So you got to be, if you really want what you want in this world, you have to be congruent with like your beliefs about the world and then how you're acting and showing up. And so if you want to manifest love or money or success or anything, you really need self-love and self-confidence, because everything involves speaking up. Everything involves self-promotion. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're going to have to go probably have an argument with some other kid's friend's mom. Something's going to come up, and you need to model that for your kids as well. So I just feel like everything that you want in life is really on the other side of confidence and self-esteem.
I love that. So let's use that as a thread throughout this conversation, is talking about the confidence, because that's part of the foundation. Because I was going to say, what to you is the foundation of manifestation? And to you right now, it's confidence. Is there anything else that you would add to this foundation that we need to have? And one thing I heard there when you were saying this is this belief, like you have these beliefs that you should be treated a certain way, and you tell other people that's not right, that you're treating them that way. But then when it comes to yourself, you're letting that be lax, and you're not in alignment with what you're communicating to the universe, being like, people shouldn't be able to talk down to their wives, and yet you're letting yourself be talked down to, and you're getting small and shutting down. So yeah, I think it's very important that your belief system is in alignment. And when you have that confidence, then you can out your beliefs get better, back in alignment. Would you agree?
100%. And I just want to, so let me just kind of do a blanket on like, what is confidence? Okay. Because, people are going to have, people have amazing interpretations of this that are really, I think, off base, but let me just break it down. Confidence is not an anchored quality within you. This is what it is. It's the sum of the actions you take and the thoughts you think. That's it. It's the sum of the thoughts you think and the actions you take. It is not reflective of your actual capacity to succeed at something. What it is, it's reflective of your belief in your ability to possibly, do you see what I'm saying? So everybody can change the thoughts they think and the actions they take. Confidence is at everybody's. Now, I know there's people out there like, oh, that, but you've been probably confident forever. And I grew up with parents that beat me and blah, blah. Oh my God, yes, you're going to have to get a lot, scrape off maybe more barnacles off your life if you had some serious trauma you've got to deal with. Absolutely. But to stay in victim mode, then you're letting that parent, that shitty uncle, that next door neighbor, that babysitter, whatever, who told you were worth nothing. Yeah, you're letting them win. If you'd like to live your whole life that way, go ahead. It's going to be a disaster garbage show. So, you know, until you, so yes, my book is all about, hey, how do you scrape off the barnacles and start to like lift yourself up? And it, you know, and I go through that in my book, and anybody can go and find that. So because it's the sum of the thoughts that you think and the actions you take, this is very in line with sort of the protocols of manifestation. What thoughts are you thinking? You know, are every day you're like, I'm never going to be successful. Why does Jenny, Jack, and Bob on Instagram, they seem successful? How'd they get, oh, they probably had money. All these excuses as to why it's not happening for you. That is not confidence. That's not self-esteem, right? So one of the
That's a vibration. I was going to say that's a vibration that you're sending out. Like, why do they have all this? Like, that's a very low vibration. It's almost could be an envy. It could be in the envy category.
It is. And
like,
so
I want that, but it's still a lower vibration, and that's what you're communicating. So
and
yeah,
confident people aren't jealous, and they don't have envy. Envy would only be like, oh man, that's cool. I wish I had a private jet too. Envy can kind of let you know things that you want, which is great. Then you're like, I want that. I want that. Jealousy is jealousy will kick you in your own ass. And if you think that you're a jealous person, this is like the number one thing you have got to stop doing. Number one, nobody in the world wants to hang out with a jealous person ever. And I'll tell you why. Because when people are jealous of you, they're secretly hoping you fucking fail at the thing that you're jealous about. This is true. They are always jealous of the person, and they're hoping that person fails at the thing they think they wish they had. That backfires right into yourself. You're never going to get anywhere, and no one's going to want to hang out with you. If I sense that there's someone who's jealous of me, you know why? Because I know they're rooting for my failure. Do we want friends around us that are hoping we fail? First of all, if you're that person, are you cool with having a bunch of loser friends that never succeed? F you, if that's your view as a friend, right? So part of my book is how to stop being a downer and how to avoid downers. Part of becoming confident is knowing where you're a downer and someone else's confidence, okay? So these are the thoughts that you can catch throughout the day. Are you, when someone is like, I'm going to take off to New York and become an opera singer, is your first reaction rolling your eyes and going, good luck with that. You'll be running back in no time. I give her 6 months. Okay, see, those kind of comments we've all had, okay? I'm not immune to them either. What a shitty, awful vibration you're putting forward. You're going, good luck with that. Anytime you roll your eyes and you think good luck with that, you better stop and go, hold on a minute. Okay, maybe I think she's a terrible singer now. Could she get better? Would I want her to succeed if this is the joy of her life? Who cares? So she goes and she fails. At least she tried it. Why don't I just congratulate her for that? Start to change around the thought towards, you know, because the ego pops up and that's what we think. And there is this weird, it's almost like they've done studies on alcoholics. And they've had healers around and family members to try to put out energy towards the alcoholic that's healing. But what they found is that only the truly unbiased healers, thinkers, meditators had any effect because they were completely unbiased. It was the family members and the drinking buddies. See, because the drinking buddies don't want the person to become sober because they need a drinking buddy. Then there might be relatives that person's like, I don't care if they effing died, they've caused me so many problems, right? So the energy from the people that know them. So sometimes when you're jealous, whatever, or you don't want someone to succeed, it's because they're pursuing something you're too afraid to frickin' do. And you're just jealous and kind of thinking, oh, what if they succeed? And then they'll be at a different status than me. And then I might feel, oh my God, that's such a selfish viewpoint. So the more we can encourage others, you have to be down with OPC, other people's confidence. And if you see someone who's speaking highly of themselves, not in a braggy way, because that is not confidence, but if someone's speaking highly of themselves and it makes you feel uncomfortable, you got an issue with confidence. Because see, when I hear someone speak highly of themselves or be like, oh, I fucking nailed it, or I killed this interview or whatever, I'm like, right on, go girl. But if you think that is like, ooh, they're not humble, or that's yucky, or that's braggy, you have issues with confidence and self-esteem.
Yeah, absolutely. With a lot with this jealousy piece that you're talking about, so much of it's fear-based as well. Like, I'm scared of losing something as well, something that's important to you or something you think is important to you. Okay, so just a flip here. So we're talking about, we got to catch our thoughts. So we have 60,000-ish thoughts a day. Only like really 5% are we truly conscious of. The other, like, or not 5%, what is it, like 20%? I can't even remember the exact number. 95% of our thoughts are subconscious. That's what I meant. Only 5 are conscious. So we have all these thoughts per day. Really, how do we start to figure out which ones are, because so many of them are automatic. We don't even think that we have to do certain things. It just happens throughout the day. So how do we start to slow down enough that we can actually catch these thoughts that are really destroying our ability to manifest the things we want in our life, because they're actually going against creating the thoughts and the sums of the action that we need to create this confidence. What is the first thing that you would suggest we do?
I'll give you a perfect example. Yesterday, I had one of those, like, no one wants to experience it at the pharmacy, deal with waiting, and you got to call the insurance company, whatever. One of these, like, oh God, here goes 2 hours of my morning based on some BS. The kind of thing nobody wants to deal with, right? And so it kind of got me, right? You know, you're in that mode. It's not good vibes, really, because you're like, oh, I'm not going to call the insurance company. So I had one of those. And I started to see that my day was not looking good because, again, I was in that energy. I literally had to go, that whole experience at the pharmacy dealing with this thing. Yeah, it just I need to like reset the tone now. It's sometimes a very conscious effort. Like, I need to go into gratitude right now. I need to realize, like, that was a first class problem. I'm letting it ruin my day. We all have moments like this. You know, you had a bad experience with the airline, and now your whole day's ruined. Okay. So part of it, and I sent this out as a newsletter the other day, which is, you know, you choose your vents wisely. First of all, stop complaining to 500 people about your airport experience, because the airport's fucking winning. Okay. Each time you repeat the story of your vent of that thing, right, you get aggravated about it. So if I went into detail about what happened yesterday, I'd probably start to get charged up. Do you know what I mean? Stop reliving the experience. Maybe vent it out to one person, be done with it. Okay. And you know, you choose them wisely. So stop spreading that around. No one wants to hear your fucking airport story. No one wants to hear my CVS story, you know, but maybe you tell one friend and you bitch it out, and that's the end of it. So yeah. Containing
you do have to get rid of it, because I just want to reiterate, you don't want to hold those feelings in. We don't want to stuff them down. You do need to process them. You do need to out them, but in a way that's like healing, not in a way that's obsessive and keeps you stuck in that vibration of being in that down state of complaining. So I think
that's where really you call important. A coach or a friend who knows like what you and I do, so that because here's the thing, my friends understand this. So I'll call them and I'll be like, I need to blast this out. But they also know that after I blast it out, they're going to help me turn it around. That's the purpose. It's not for them to continue bitching and we're going to keep going. So you don't call the friend that you know doesn't understand the stuff. You call the friend that's willing to listen and then is able to go, all right, let's turn this around together. What positives can we see? Let's get out of this mood. Here's the other indication. When you're not thinking happy thoughts, you don't feel right. How's your mood? Are you annoyed sitting around? Are you annoyed right now? Are you anxious? Like, what is that about? Usually it's about the thoughts you're thinking. You can or is it a phone call you just got off and now you don't feel that something's bugging you? Hey, what just happened? Oh, I had a phone call with something. So let me go back. Did something on that phone call trigger me? Something they say bother me? Working that out in your head a little bit to just go, hold on a minute, I see where this is coming from. And then trying to turn it around. And again, I don't say, it's not like if your mother died and you're crying, I'm going to try to make you happy. You have to grieve. You have to go through these moments. It's, again, how long are you going to continue it? Because this goes to, so, you know, I'm an ancestral health expert as well. So my first book is about paleo health and thyroid health. Confidence is an evolutionary edge, okay? Wallowing in self-pity is a modern luxury, folks, okay? It's something that we really need to look at and be more like our ancestors. They did not sit there and wallow around in self-pity when they didn't catch the beast. They didn't go, maybe I call 5 friends. Do you think maybe I should like hunt again? Because I don't know, it didn't work out. Oh my God, they got back up there and they did it the next day. Failure was only feedback, onward and upward. We need to be more ancestral when it comes to this. Okay. Now, I also would say, yes, we need to get more ancestral when it comes to health, movement, sunlight, play. Yes. But forget paleo principles for a second about lifestyle and, you know, food. I'm just talking about it's your birthright to be confident. Whether it was taken away from you, affected by high school, bullying, whatever happened along your way, you can get it back. Why do you want it? Well, you're going to be confident people are more successful. Why is that? Because we're leaders, we're decisive, we're authentic, we're out of integrity, we speak with authority, we encourage other people's success. Confident people aren't bullies and assholes. Those are people that are insecure or they're using their confidence, they're misusing it, okay? So that bitch at work that's yelling at everybody, she's not confident, she's using her confidence to barrel all over everybody and be a bully, okay? That's not confidence either. So, we absolutely have to get back, like our ancestors' life was so harsh and unforgiving. We almost always have, anyone listening to this probably has only first class problems, okay? First world problems, first class problems. And so this is really important to stop judging yourself as failure, because confident people only see failure as feedback. we don't look at it like that's saying something bad about us. We keep moving forward. We're like, whatever. So you have to start to get comfortable with yourself and failure. The other thing too is with manifesting love. Okay, so this is really a big thing. You're going to manifest and bring in the wrong person, or AKA, or the right person who's going to show you something you need to work on. You can do that and go through a series of relationships to teach you that, or you can get on that shit yourself and start now, because I wish I would have. So if you're, one of the things that really screws up relationships, aside from not having confidence and all of that stuff, but is any kind of shame about something. Because you tend to not want to talk about it with your significant other while you're dating and you're falling in love. You don't want them to know this thing about you because you feel they'll reject you or whatever it is. And that's probably one of the worst things that can happen if you have shame anywhere in your life, by the way, and it doesn't matter what it's about. And it's not to say that you even have to tell your significant other. There are some things you can take to the grave, but you have to get flat with it and you have to work it out. And if it, and you know that you're in this situation, if you are afraid to tell them something about your life that you've told all your friends, something you feel embarrassed about. It could even be unsightly moles on your back. It could be you're ashamed of running over somebody and drunk driving in high school and you paid your debt, you went to prison, you're still guilty about it. It could be anything large or small. I'm not going to discount anyone's shame. It's just shame is the number one worthlessness feeling, and you are not going to attract the right person with that. And it happened to me until that was like my last piece. I was confident as all get up, except for I had to deal with that part in my relationships. Figuring out that piece made me confident as fuck, all encompassing inside and out. So if you have a little area of your life, you think you're shoving that stuff under the rug, it's going to come and bite your ass. I'm here to tell you. And so we really need to look at all areas of our life where we're lacking confidence or self-esteem. And it's usually one area or another for someone. For example, I know someone who's a really well-known artist. He can stand in front of his show, talk to his art, mingle, blah, 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 but shy as hell to go up to talk to a woman. He struggles. Usually I have one friend who's extremely confident in their romantic relationships in terms of declaring what they want and, absolutely speaking up in every way, yet have trouble speaking up at work to ask for their promotion or the raise. So usually, now some people may be like, I'm not confident anywhere. No, there's somewhere. Even if it's like, I'm confident in my ability as a stamp collector. I'm confident in my ability to be a good friend. You could just be a great friend to people. Being confident as F is not about being a CEO or a badass or writing books. Yes, you would need that to do that, but it's not about that. It's about moving through this world. And also, what are you teaching your children about speaking up and confidence when you aren't? It's going to be reflected. They need to see that you send the steak back when it wasn't cooked the way you asked. They need to see that you are defending them, defending yourself. Otherwise, they're just going to become people pleasers that are quiet, don't speak up. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think, there's just so much good stuff in here. A big piece, I think, of confidence, like you're saying, is being able to out yourself. And when you have that when you have the confidence, that means you have these thoughts and you're able to take action to share them and tell people the way you're actually thinking. So when you can out yourself, whether it's the shame you felt as a child or the shame you felt last week or the guilt that you felt or the embarrassment you felt or the fear you feel, like when you can take those emotions that you've been feeling, out them, then all of a sudden you're not holding them anymore. You're not stuck with them in you. Also, you're doing it in a vibrationally well-aligned way where it feels good to you to share this stuff. You're not doing it in a complaining way. You're not doing it in a guilt-tripping way towards someone else. So when you out yourself, and I think like you said, when you get triggered, whether it's at the pharmacy, when you take all those triggers and you play detective and you get really curious about what does that emotion mean? Why am I so angry? Am I feeling controlled? Do I feel like my power's been taken away? And then when have I felt this in the past? Whether it was last week or whether it was even as a child or whether it was in previous relationships. When have I felt this way before? And that's when you can really start to
And
put
who
the
does
pieces
that remind
together.
me of? Does that
Ooh, I
person
like
I'm
that.
like getting bad vibes about, is it because they remind me of someone similar? That could be a good red flag to go note the same red flag personality, but also it's just it's a note because you might be projecting something there. You might be projecting something onto someone because they remind you of your father or your ex-boyfriend or whatever it is. The biggest issues I see with people in a relationship, and this goes for myself, are alpha women. So if you're already alpha like me, it's not to say that you don't have to work on some confidence too.
And when you say alpha, do you mean you're more in the masculine than the feminine energy?
Yeah, I mean, alpha, and the way my friend Tanya Dyer, she's an alpha coach, and the way she describes it is like alpha is 2. you're too pretty, you're too energetic, you're too smart, you're too, you know, you're too overbearing, you're too much, you're too loud, you know what I mean? You get the you're too this, or maybe you should tone it down because you're not feminine enough for the guys, or like all this kind of stuff. And if you're alpha, you just know who you are because you are often a leader and you're often a very strong personality. You're a force. The problem with alphas is we, again, this is according to my friend Tanya Dyer, and I agree with this. We have some sort of, a lot of us have core abandonment issues. And so a lot of alphas would be like, no, I got it. I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll help you. You overgive. You don't have time for yourself. Then you resent everyone else. And what that overgiving is it's almost like, I'll help you, blah, blah, and then you won't leave me. But then here's another problem. We're not vulnerable. So this is the biggest issue in relationships. And this was my problem. We're not vulnerable. We don't like it because it seems really weak. It seems weak to out yourself. It seems weak to show emotion. And so we've been kind of raised in this, we feel this like, ew. I don't want to share my shit with people kind of thing. What does that do? It makes us inaccessible to other people. So beta females often are more willing, like can accept compliments. They're willing to accept help. Do you know what I mean? And they're more vulnerable and open with who they are. Whereas an alpha woman looks sometimes at a beta and goes, I don't want to wear my heart on my sleeve like that. Ew, that seems so awkward for me. And I totally understand that. However, alphas then will have problems in relationships because then you will not find someone who's emotionally available because you're not. Because you're not. And not that, and that was my problem. That was my last problem. That's where I found that last piece of the shame. I was dealing with my relationships and I realized, oh my God, that's my area where I'm weak. It was really tough to learn how to become vulnerable. It's not fun for an alpha. Yeah. But I will say that in the end, it actually is the most confident as fuck thing in the world because being vulnerable and being open about who you are and not giving a shit about what other people think of you is top confidence. Yeah, it's even more confident than the confident person that's unwilling to show because then there's a fear of this vulnerability. Absolutely. So I would say that being vulnerable is such a superpower. I know it's been talked about here and there, but it really is. You have to, I dated a guy for like a year, met his kid. We were in it, right? And I was waiting for him to tell me he loved me before I could, right? Even though I could have said that, I was just, no, I'll wait. I don't know. I'll wait.
Well, I'd get curious, just to interrupt. I'd be curious. What's your belief there? Why are you not the one that's going to say it first? Why?
I just couldn't be vulnerable. I just couldn't like speak my truth. I could tell all my friends I'm falling in love with him. I'm in love with him, but like I couldn't. I don't know. Again, it was that
fear that it wouldn't be reciprocated. And sometimes when women I work with, they don't share because their fear of things will change. What if he says no, he doesn't love me, and all of a sudden, like, I'm almost happier with things kind of coasting along, but all of a sudden there could be a really big like shift towards, yeah, we do love each other or we don't, and then what happens? So
but I'm a fan of ripping off that Band-Aid, and I understand that scenario, and I agree. And I would say that, okay, so he was kind of emotionally cut off. He wasn't very verbally intimate. And I remember at the time talking to my coach about it. I was crying. We ended up breaking up over this conversation. I didn't want to break up with him. And I was miserable, and I called my coach and I was like, this seems like a cruel joke because I've done all this work on myself and I get to this point and I finally attract like the perfect guy and everything's great except for the one thing about him that I can say I don't like is that he's emotional, kind of a robot. But that's a huge deal breaker. And and as I feel like this is a cruel joke, and my coach said, you know what? The universe doesn't play cruel jokes on people.
No.
He said, so I would ask you, he goes, did you ever tell him about your shame thing? Did you share? Did you tell him you loved him? And I said, no. And he goes, well, then I guess you are the emotional robot. How do you expect to find someone who's emotionally available when you're not? That's vulnerability.
Yeah.
You know, and here's the truth about that conundrum you gave. Well, then good. Let's get it out in the open and figure out instead of just coasting if this person doesn't fucking love me or not or whatever. Just speak your truth, right? So I have no fear anymore about that, but I did. It was like I was dancing around like, well, I'll wait for the guy to say, well, let me just, and again, and I hadn't told them a very important thing about my life. Like it was, and then other things like, or something else will go wrong in life and you call all of your friends. Because you're like, I don't want to bring negativity into my relationship or whatever. That, what you're bringing in is part of creating emotional intimacy with someone. So you know what I mean? Like my dad died at the time and like, I really didn't talk to him about my boyfriend, but I called all my friends. Well, that's just separating me from this guy. I'm not getting any closer to this person. And I'm also not allowing them to help me, soothe me, be a boyfriend. you're hurting your own relationship by not allowing a guy or a person, whoever you're with, female, doesn't matter, gender, to comfort you. Again, this is where alphas fail because we don't want any help. Oh, we're good. I got it. We don't delegate well. So it's hard to accept help. And then, again, you end up accepting crumbs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, I got it. No, you're actually needy. You actually need some things.
Mm-hmm.
So we can just be too independent, and then it kind of blows up in our face, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear another thing going on there too. When that relationship, you're like, it was perfect except for this one thing. Yeah, you didn't kind of explain, you didn't go emotional with him. But also what happens is I think the universe will provide us with this kind of shiny coin or this carrot here dangling in front of us. And we can decide to stay in that relationship because you know what, it checks almost every box. We
That's
stay,
right.
or it's the universe being like, are you ready for the real relationship you want? Are you going to pass this? I don't like to use the word test per se, but there's this
It is.
opportunity. It's this opportunity. Are you going to take that opportunity that's not fully in your worth? Or are you going to say, you know what, I'm going to close that door. It's painful, but you know what, I'm going to trust that the relationship I truly want is coming my way that checks
And that's
every
what I
single
did.
box.
And
Yeah.
I did that again after that too, a few years later. A guy checked all the boxes, wasn't
Okay, wait,
feeling.
let's go back to a few
Yeah.
years later. So like this isn't happening. Yours opportunity didn't come like next right after. You had to wait a few more years.
I was upset. I was miserable for I cried for a couple of years after that. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't even in an emotional place to date. I was so depressed about this. And also what am I going to do? I got to learn how to be vulnerable. I don't know, So I had to kind of figure all this out. And then when I was ready to date, I was like, I'm going to do this differently, And, when and then I did meet another person and it was a brief thing. They were great. And again, though, here's the thing. You get prizes all the time when you do pro you moves, I call them. So being like that guy, I'm so glad, perfect in every way. I could have absolutely settled for no emotional verbal intimacy, right? But then I would have been dying inside because it just broke I'm a verbal person. I'd rather get words than get flowers and Gucci purses and everything. I'd rather have words. So it actually really killed me. I realized I couldn't go to bed every night with someone that was just like, good night. We're not expressing anything to each other. He showed me he loved me. I need show and tell. You know what I mean? So again, I didn't settle. And I thought about that afterwards. There were lots of could I have just dealt with it? But then my gut would sink every time I even thought about the idea of, so it was horrible. But yet I realized the grand scheme of the universe. I was like, this is the lesson I needed to teach me the vulnerability so I can get the right person. And I'm not surprised he ran into me. He's a robot too, man, unless he fixed that. I don't know what his life's like now, but you know what I mean? He's not got and would have I even gotten back together with him if he was still that way? No way. No way. Right? Because that's too important. And it sucked because we got along. We never had a fight. We did everything in common. This one freaking thing. You know what? Not worth settling. So, when you do pro you moves, you get prizes all the time. And by the way, you do get tested. So for example, within confidence arenas, like speaking up to get the job, speaking up to draw a boundary, when you speak up for yourself, you do that thing, you're like, I don't do this, but now I'm going to finally speak up. You usually, if it's a theme, you'll get tested. So for example, if you keep getting patronized by bosses on the job and then finally speak up, you might get a good few bosses after that. You get a tester. Tester's going to come in. There's going to be a tester. It's almost like the universe going, did you really get that?
Yeah, and I'm just going to interrupt for a second. The word test, I just want to reiterate, it's a kind test. It's not a pass or fail. That's why sometimes
it's a pro you test. It's like, what are you going to do for you?
A check. It's almost like a check-in, but it's a little bit bigger than a check-in. I just want to make sure people don't feel like they're failing if they don't pass it. So I just want to reiterate that word test.
That. Yeah, don't feel like this is not a negative. This is really about learning more about you and how to improve yourself in your life.
It's like an "Are you ready?" event.
It is, and it's also a you didn't like that behavior before, you spoke up once. Let's see if you have the strength to do it again. Because the truth about boundaries is they're no good if you don't keep them. So you can establish one, but then what if you go over here and it happens again? You better speak up. The more consistent you are and the more congruent you are about these things. Now, I'm drawing boundaries constantly, okay? I still draw them. I'm rarely challenged, though. It's rare because that's one thing I don't get challenged on because it's not my area. So people who are lacking confidence, you'll see where you get challenged. It's usually one area or another of lack of self-esteem. I usually, for example, it's really rare someone tries to bully me or patronize me. When they do, they find out very quickly that was the worst mistake they've ever made. So I often don't get those challenges. But if you're someone that's being bullied all the time and you've never spoken up, you're going to get your ass handed to you with bullies everywhere. Oh, they're going to show up. And guess what? You're emanating it for bullies. Oh, they are just going to seek you out like a heat-seeking missile. Bullies, I know who to fuck with. Okay, they do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they don't with me. I don't put that out there like, I'm going to stay away from her. Good. You should. So I don't usually have these issues. You know what I mean? Any relationship, marriage, it could be with your people at work, your friends, everything requires boundaries. Everything requires direct communication. The better your relationships are going to be with other confident people, because they're also out of integrity. They also speak up. There's no passive aggressiveness. The opposite of confident as fuck is being a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes,
if you're a people
pleaser.
pleaser, and I hate to say this, and I've said it many times before, but you're a liar. You're literally just a liar.
You
I'm
really
so
are.
sorry.
It's
Like,
a form of manipulation, 100%. We
and
always
it's
say
so
people
tough to
pleaser,
hear.
oh, people pleaser, but you're manipulating others to like you.
Yeah, and it's it always backfires. And then what happens is the person who's you know, people pleasing is having, you know, covert contracts and all sorts of things going on in their world, and it often fails and blow-ups. I've never seen any of them happy ever, because what that is again, you're lying for the sake, out of fear or for the hope that someone's going to like you for what you're presenting, not for who you truly are, because you don't have enough self-esteem and confidence to be who you are and be okay with whether people love you or not for that. You know what I mean? So people pleasing is a bad move, and that's like the opposite of being confident as fuck. Um, and you're like, someone will be like, well, how do I know I'm a people pleaser? Like, I like to make, sometimes people are sort of I'm a person where if an argument broke out at a party, I would literally probably be the one to go in and stop it. I would. That's not people pleasing. That's conflict resolution, emergency,
Yes.
right? But I definitely would be that person to go, hey, whoa, take it outside. You're ruining other guest time, or what. I would actually jump in there. That's not people pleasing. If you're unfamiliar and you're listening, what people pleasing is, it's when, if you hear people say like, oh, the problem with Mike, like, he's so nice, you know, like he's never getting the shifts at work he wants, or he's always, oh, poor, oh, they're so nice. You know what their problem is? They're too nice. Nope, that's not their problem. They don't speak up. They don't draw boundaries. Okay. I remember them saying this about a friend of ours who worked at a restaurant for 10 years and he was the manager. It seemed like every Thanksgiving, Easter holiday he was working, and he'd always complain about it, but he'd never speak up. And we were like, dude, and there people would be like, oh, you know what? He's just too nice. No, he's not. He's weak as F. He can't speak up after 10 years to go, hey man, it's time I get a Thanksgiving off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel sorry for that person.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. That's on you, man. You're not too nice. Don't feel sorry for that person. You should be
Mm-hmm.
concerned about that person.
Absolutely.
You
Oh,
know?
I agree.
And the other thing I want to throw out there, I am not religious, okay? But if you are, you can really use it to help you with confidence, because that's what faith in God is. You have faith in something that you think loves you, will protect you at any time, wants you to succeed, Jesus was confident as F and also humble. He was a badass. He took risks. You know what I mean? There's some false humility. Oh, I don't want to talk too much about my accomplishments. No, religion. Oh, be humble. Oh, get out of here. What are you going to say in your job interview when they ask you what your good qualities are? Oh, I don't know. I like to be humble. You're not going to get hired. Stop hiding behind that with religion, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the other part too is, again, if you have faith in God, that's what that is. You should have faith in yourself. So if you don't have faith and confidence in yourself, it's kind of like you're giving the middle finger to your God. Get in there with your religion. It can actually help you, you know, reinstill that faith. You can have the faith without that. Again, I don't subscribe to a script or a Bible or a religion or anything, but again, if you do, you can really use your religion to help you. So that's there for you, you know, get in there with it.
Yeah, it's so true, whether it's God or whether it's a different version of God or whether it's the universe, like just connecting with someone that you can trust is co-creating with you is a really beautiful feeling too. Then you don't feel so alone in this whole process. You know that something's working with you, some sort of energy.
Absolutely. And I would say starting to manifest. Okay. Well, first of all, listen to all the audiobooks from great authors on this topic of the law of attraction. That's a start. that'll get you going. Here's where I always say people should start small. If you are unfamiliar with this whole world and it sounds magical and whatever, and look, I mean, technically skeptics would say it's a pseudoscience. You have to try this for yourself. Okay, no evidence is going to give it to you other than your personal evidence. And you always start really small. You don't start with, oh, well, if this manifestation stuff works, then great. Let's see if I get that Jaguar that's going to just show up at my doorstep. Guess what, by the way, even in saying that, you can tell I don't believe that that's going to happen, which is the utmost in manifestation. You have to believe it. Most people have zero resistance around small things like a cup of coffee, seeing a blue apple, things like that. So you start off really small, and it's just like, all right, you know what? Let's see if this comes into my purview. Blue glass, butterflies, blue apple, whatever, just something like you don't even care. Not, I need the money to pay off my mortgage. That's not your first manifestation, right? Because again, people don't get behind the belief. You start small. A great example. His name's his name's Justin. My gosh, what's his last name? That's so terrible. He is I'll figure it out. He's like, You Are Creators on YouTube. He's Mr. Manifester. He was working on an assembly line, learned about the law of attraction. He now has like an $800,000 house in Florida with 2 boats, doing really great. And he talks about one time when he started off small, and he goes, all right, and he mentioned blue apple. First of all, there's no such thing in the world as a blue apple, right? It would have to be something he would see elsewhere. But again, he was like, all right, let's try to trick this shit, blue apple. And then he goes to a Bed Bath & Beyond, and he sees a wall of blue apples. Now, it was a product where like it keeps your garlic, whatever, keeps your vegetables safe or something, but it was just like a blue apple container. It had nothing to do with apples. And, those are the kind of things that happen at first. Here's the other problem. People will put out, okay, I'm just going to put out a cup of coffee or whatever. Don't be looking everywhere for the cup of coffee. But the reason you start off small is most people forget and they don't care. And then the coffee shows up and they go, oh my God, shit, last week I met. And then you have little ones that build that and you go, that's interesting. I see how that's showing up. Let me try something bigger. By the way, this happened to me even recently. I literally was just like, let me just play with money for a second. I was like, let me just play. I was just trying to I was talking with a friend about law of attraction, and they were kind of in a down spiral and wanted to get motivated. I said, I'll do something with you. I go, you know what? I go, let me just say, I want money to come from out of nowhere. By the way, this has happened to me before, so I already have faith that this can happen. Most people do not have this belief. So I was like, I want money to come out of nowhere that I could not have guessed. So it wouldn't be like a coaching client or, something like that. And I'm not kidding you. 2 days later, I go to my mailbox and I pull out an envelope. I used to host a podcast for 7 years for Mark Sisson, and the company was bought by Kraft Heinz. When the company was bought, I was just a contractor working hourly to do the podcast. I was not getting benefits at all. They told me I wouldn't have any benefits. So I never had, health benefits or anything. I wasn't upset about that. There were no benefits. I get a letter in the mail. This entire time, I had no idea they were putting money away from me in a retirement account. And it equaled about like $4,000 or $5,000 or whatever it was for the last couple of years that they worked there. And again, I didn't make that much. I was just a contractor doing this thing. And I was just laughing about that. I was like, that's the kind of stuff. And literally had zero idea at all. In fact, throughout the years when I would receive something about like the 401k plan, whatever, I threw it away because I go, I don't know why they're sending this to me. I don't get benefits. I was already told I don't get benefits. And so, that happened to me the other day. This happens constantly. My next book is about intention, and I have a million law of attraction stories from really big wins, winning contests. And again, because I believe that I'm a person who wins contests, particularly when the odds are, I can wrap my head around it, because people often don't win the lottery because the odds are so crazy. But if you enter into a contest with 300 people, see, I can believe that. I'll get behind that. And then I'll usually win it. Lottery is also, and the reason I bring it up because it's often a question for people, like, why haven't you done it? Number one, there's a co-creation in the world. So number two, usually that's the how. I'm going to get money through this one way. And when you control the how, or as Mike Dooley, one of my favorite authors on the topic, says, the cursed house, you are limiting an otherwise unlimited universe. You're saying, this is the way I have to get the money. Do you care how you get the millions of dollars of the money? Would you care? Like if you played the lottery, but I said, hey, look, someone you knew when you were younger who was a babysitter thought you were great and like left you millions of dollars. Would you give a shit whether you won the lottery or not, or it came another way? Most people be like, I don't care how it comes. So when people are like, my only shot is the lottery, narrowing their one, money possibility. It usually doesn't work out. And the odds are so crazy, it's hard to believe it. Like when I enter into contests in the past and I've won, it's like before I even enter, I already know I'm winning. It's like I feel this faith. And people go, well, how do you get to that? I got to that because I have won contests like since I was a kid. And then when I learned about law of attraction, do you know what I mean? I don't win
Put
every
the pieces
contest, but
together.
I've won some impressive contests, And it's everything from contests to money to opportunities. I have seen opportunities come into my life where people are like, that's impossible. Even including publishing, where people are like, oh God, it's so hard. First you have to get an agent. Then you have to go to a publisher. I'm like, well, that's funny because that didn't happen with me. I went direct to a publisher. It's an anomaly, but why did it happen to me versus other people? Because I just don't have resistance. I don't think I have resistance to it. I will throw out a couple of my favorite Get Started with Law of Attraction and Manifesting books. First of all, I really love the work of Mark Allen, M-A-R-C. Mark Allen has a book called The Millionaire Course. And it's an audiobook and it's cheap and I would listen to it. Mark Allen is a great example. He wrote a book called, wrote many books. He's the laziest guy on planet Earth. He's so not type A. In fact, if you type in Primal Blueprint, Elle, Russ, Mark Allen, listen to that episode. Mark is I've also taken courses from him. Mark owns New World Library. He publishes all of Eckhart Tolle's book. He's an extremely successful publisher. Yes. And millions and millions of dollars, which is difficult for publishers. And when he started out learning about this, he was 30. He's self-admittedly the laziest person. To this day, he does not go to work on Mondays. He sleeps until 12 or 2. He doesn't really work Thursdays or Fridays. On weekends, he tells his family, F off, Sunday's mine. He literally is the laziest. He loves to sleep. He likes musician hours. And he thought to himself, well, I'm not type A. Like these go-getter success people, a lot of manifestor people too. And he's like, I'm not type A, I'm type Z, man. I don't want to do anything. And he goes, well, let me do an experiment. Let me do an experiment. Just tell my doubts and fears to go F off. And I'm just going to take a year or two. And I'm going to see if I can do this in an easy and relaxed way. And so he's one of my favorites because he is so not a rah-rah Tony Robbins type A, type action. And he's proof that you can do it with minimal work and effort. You can be the laziest person in the world and still manifest a ton. That doesn't mean you're not going to put some effort into it. You cannot publish a book unless you write it. Okay, so, there are things you're going to have to take action on. But he's really my favorite in terms of that because I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't type A. I'm pretty type A, in a lot of ways. I'm really half and half, but I have that element to me and I know a lot of people don't. And so then they hear people be like, yeah, and they're like, that's not me. So M-A-R-C, Mark Allen is your guy for that. I also love Lynn McTaggart's intention experiment. She did all sorts of scientific experiments around intention. So for the people that want to look at science or whatever science is out there, that's a great book. And I would say the original Secret audiobook by Rhonda Byrne is fantastic. And then I love Mike Dooley. Mike Dooley is also one of my favorites. He's got a great movie on iTunes, really cheap, called Thoughts Become Things. And he's really wonderful. So those are just a few. I've read, 50 to 100 of them, but those are some of the few that if people are like, I don't know really what this means, I would say start with those, So it's turning the thought around in the moment, if you can, or grieving it, dealing with the experience and the turning around. And then obviously, everyone would say the key to manifestation is gratitude. And also altruism. So Lynn McTaggart has done, she wrote many books. One was Power of 8, where she got people into Power of 8 groups and they were healing each other's cancers and stuff like this. She noticed that in her experiments with these groups, when you are trying to manifest for someone else, when you are putting the altruistic vibes out there for that person, it comes back more so even for that person. So she's really noticed that altruism. So what part of your day can you spend a minute thinking about your friends and what their wants are and imagining them succeeding at those? Because that's a nice thing to do. Have a little moment of altruism. We can be grateful for all the things we have, but can we sit there and go, I hope Jenny finishes this book and it's a hit. I hope, Sally meets the love of her life, because I know she's online dating right now, and right, and imagining them and what that takes, that imagines them, just imagining them at the end result. If Sally is online and trying to find a husband after so many years, then just imagine being at their wedding and seeing them kiss. Like, imagine the end result of whatever it is. I think that's a lovely thing to do, to just put out that energy for your friends and family every day for what they want, and so that's something that most people don't do, because they're so focused on like my goals. I'm writing my goals out, imprinting my subconscious gratitude for me and my life, right? And that's fantastic, and we all need that. But let's maybe look at altruism too.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea. I feel like that's often overlooked when it comes to gratitude. So thank you for sharing that idea. I like that. All right. Well, Elle, do you have any other final thoughts that you want to add, and how can any of the viewers on my side find you? I'd love for you to share that.
Yeah, I guess I just want to say one more thing about confident people. I mean, there's so much to say about this, obviously, but the other thing is that confident people don't compete, okay? They just win. And that sounds strange, but so when you compete, you lose, is what I say. And I want to kind of, because if you're out there on social media or an influencer or a coach or whatever, you might feel in competition. You might see someone have more followers. You might feel competitive about something. And I would say that, so I never compete against anyone else. So I don't have the mindset of beating others. I just have the mindset of winning and being the best. And there is a vibrational difference of intention here, okay? Because see, competing against others in a way is sort of like hoping for their failure, and it's connected to your feeling of superiority over them and your success. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely. And that's a low self-esteem, low confidence vibration, right? And so competing to be the best and winning involves zero negative or comparative energy towards anyone else. So when I'm in a competition of some sorts, whatever it is, I'm not thinking like, I can't wait, I'm going to kick their, I'm just like, I'm going to dominate. Like, I'm going to win. I'm not even thinking about the other people in the competition. You know what I mean? And so one of the things, and this goes to manifestation and confidence as a closer, is confident people don't compete because there's no limit in our minds to success. That's why we are encouraging and helpful of others. That's why when you meet a confident person who you think's confident, but they're kind of bitchy and they're, alpha or whatever, but like they're not helpful towards your success, then they're not confident. They are an insecure asshole. Because confident people encourage other people's success. We don't care if you do something that I do. If you came to me tomorrow and said, I want to write a confidence book and I want to do a podcast, I'm not threatened immediately. I'm like, right on. There's enough for us all. There's no lack of abundance with someone who's confident. And that goes into the manifesting. Like, oh no, they're going to get my thing. Oh no, they wrote a book in the same subject. Oh no, hey, there's room for everybody, man.
There is. Yeah, because everyone brings their own unique traits and has their own energy that's going to draw in other like energy. The vibe you give off is different than the vibe I give it off. Even if we're doing the exact same thing, we will attract, like you said, exactly who we need when we need it.
Absolutely. So again, the power of positive thinking is not a joke. You got to start somewhere. It is a practice. Yes, you'll fall off and go down a spiral because you'll have a terrible airport experience, and then you get right back on again, and you might have to always go back to basics, like I told you, I manifested money out of nowhere the other day. But if I were to go back to basics, I'd start with like, all right, I'm just going to manifest like a phone call from someone I'd love to hear from, I haven't heard from a while, or something really small to kind of build that faith and that belief up again. Because when it comes in, it starts to go, oh yeah, this stuff works. So it really is an N=1 experiment. It's also, I just want to say this last thing about manifesting. And again, since this is sort of a combination live here on this. Yes, they say you need to get clear about what you want. For the most part, it's about the end result experience. If you want money, usually it's for something, right? It's like, okay, I want to buy a house. Why do you want the house? Well, because I want to have a place for my kids and I want to have dinner parties. Or, okay, great. Imagine yourself doing dinner parties in your house, not how you're going to get the house. So we always want money or something for the feeling that it's going to bring us. So manifestation is not an intellectual exercise. It's not just writing down things you want and lists of gratitude. You do a gratitude list. I'm thankful for being alive. I'm thankful for my eyes. Da, 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 da. Do I look grateful there to you? No. It's when I go back to list and I think, what would life be like without my eyes? Oh my God. If you and I spent 2 minutes really thinking about this, we would probably tear up at how grateful we are that we have our eyes. That's gratitude. It's a feeling universe, not intellectual. So until and it sounds crazy and pretendy and like acting, and yes, it is. It is a little bit of that. It's like, oh, I'm lying to myself. It's who cares? No one's watching you. No one's listening to you. So it really is the feeling. You're almost like an actor. You've got to generate the feeling of what it would be like, right? What it would be like. Maybe are you going to be like hands on your kitchen counter watching everyone finish up dessert at that dinner party, and you're just so excited about this evening that you were able to create for people? That kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, I just love that. It's so true. Like, you got to embody the feeling, but I like the way you contribute it to being an actor, because sometimes we don't believe it's true when we first start. Even as simple as I love myself. So many people would say, I love myself consciously. Yeah, I love myself, but do I really? No, I don't. So you got to feel what it would feel like to like love yourself or whatever it is. I love how you said,
Yes.
become an actor.
And isn't that it? Everyone should love themselves. Like I love myself. I really do. Like I love myself, and I really enjoy my own company. And I want that for everybody. You can work towards getting there, but if your thoughts are filled with a bunch of garbage and water cooler talk and stuff, you're not close, right? It's a wonderful place to be. I wasn't always there. The other place is stressful because you're like swimming around and like, I don't know what this all means. What's life about, right? And then this other area is like, oh no, I have some control. There's a co-creative effect. It can't be fully defined. Some of it's a little ethereal, right? There's not any like hardcore science that would prove it in a way to scientists maybe at this point. But again, it's your personal experience of it. So try it out. My only warning is when you do adopt it and follow the principle starts working for you, and then you want to go tell all your friends about it. And guess what? Don't. I'll tell you why. It's going to be met. It won't be met great. You know what I mean? When people aren't ready for it and you're like, oh my God, I learned this thing. And then they're like, wait, you're just telling me to be happy? No, I can't just get off my antidepressants. No, or whatever the thing is like it. And I remember at first doing that. And it was like, I was like, how can my trying to propel positive thinking get backfired like this? It's because you're pushing, let people come to you, be ready, get a coach you can talk to about, a manifesting friend, a free forum online. When you're manifesting, the last thing you want to do is to tell everyone your new thought, and then they're challenging it, they're questioning it, now you defend it, you don't even know about it enough yet, and now you're in this real world and it makes you feel bad, and they're going to downer you. They're going to be like, oh, that's ridiculous. I tried that. That doesn't work. And then what? You're in a freaking art. Don't. Do it silently. Do it. And then when people are like, wow, you're amazing. How'd you do that? I had a friend, a writing partner who I told about manifesting, and they literally called it, they were like, that shit is like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, magical garbage. And I said, okay. And then life went by and doing books, all this stuff. And my writing partner's like, how'd you swing that? And I wrote back, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. And all these things would happen. He goes, oh my God, how did that happen? I go, Harry Potter, man. What part of, even the people that don't believe in it, that are skeptic, that try a modicum of it, it works. And then you go, what did you not, I got a friend who wrote down every day the salary they wanted. And then they got it. And I was like, did you not see a correlate? And it happened to them twice. And I go, what you're doing is law of attraction. What you're doing is practicing the power of intention, subconscious mind right now, yet you're bagging on it as a skeptic in the overall world. But it's funny how you do it here. You do it over here and it works. But somehow it's not applicable to everything. So that happens too. And it's kind of funny because you're like, oh boy, it's working whether you like it or not. Yeah.
Oh, I just love this. This is so good. All right, Elle, I guess we'll have to wrap it up there. Someone had mentioned, how can they get a replay of the live? I said I'm going to share it with you as well, so that if you want to post it as well and share it with your crew,
yes, I will.
There or with me. So I'll make you a contributor for sure. But you have given so much amazing information. You have several books we can check out. You have one in the works that is a must read for sure if it's about manifestation and all the expertise you have.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that'll come out within the next year, but that will be a absolute like intention manifestation book. Otherwise, yes, I've got two. And you can always go to elleruss.com. If you have a thyroid problem, I have a free thyroid guide. There's some free version you could buy on Amazon, but I have a free version on my website. Just go to free stuff and start to imprint confidence, self-esteem, manifestation, and gratitude through that. It's an interactive journal. You can like write into it, and that's free. So I've got a lot of free stuff on my website for people. So
wonderful. And if anyone on your side's watching, I have this great guide, 3 Proven Ways to Save a Marriage. It gives you 3 great steps to start you on that path to get you a few wins and moving in the right direction. So Elle, thank you so much. I'm going to get the vibration of emotion and feel the gratitude. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Thanks so much.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.